I was told that there's this 10-stage process of initiation in higher levels of the occult. And at this point, you have to cross the abyss. Aleister Crowley writes about this at great length. And the idea is if you can cross the abyss, you can be on your way to becoming a god. But in the particular branch of Satanism slash ceremonial magic that I was involved in, I was given a fork in the road where I could either go the route of being like a vampire or being a lycanthrope, a werewolf. And because of things I had heard from friends that were into this stuff, I decided to go with the vampire route because, for one thing, it just seemed more sexy, quote unquote. Of course, I never got real far into that because, Yeshua, Jesus intervened, but it was like a cult of beings that were living on blood. And when I chose that path, this entity came to me who I now believe was a fallen angelic being who had a physical body. Just like you see in the Bible, there are angels that can assume a physical form and can, eat and whatnot, like the three angels with Abraham and Sarah in Genesis. But this is, of course, evil. And he gave me these things I had to do, herbs, lots and lots and lots of cocaine to prepare myself. And then at one point in the night, he came to me and cut open his chest, had me drink some of the blood. I don't know exactly what it was within his chest. And then I had to lay down. I had literally made a coffin for myself. And I laid in a coffin for 3 days. And when I came out, I was kind of half transformed into something other than human. And the only thing I could do was either drink blood or, this is going to sound weird as heck, celebrate a Catholic mass and drink the blood out of the chalice. And that was how I survived. I didn't eat anything for over a year, except that. And fortunately for me, I had a kind of a network of girls under me, young women, who were all parts of because I'd initiated 175 women into the covens that I was the head of. So some of these women were more than willing to have me bite them in the neck and drink their blood. And there were 4 or 5 of them that would do this, and they, alternate so nobody would get particularly depleted by it. And this is going on for quite a while. And at the time, I couldn't go out in the sunlight. So I got a job working third shift for the Milwaukee Sentinel at that time, one of the 2 newspapers. And my job was to put newspapers in boxes, those metal boxes that they have on the street corners, in the middle of the night. And so I'd be doing that by night. And then in the daytime, I'd be resting. We had light-proof drapes, and I'd stay indoors and, never get near the sun. But gradually it got worse. Like any addiction, it's like you need more and more blood. You need more. And I was really having bloodlust to the point that I'd be driving around in the middle of the night doing this thing with my newspapers. And if I'd see like a hooker out there or like a homeless person wandering around or something or other, it literally took everything I had to not jump on them and just, kill them. So at that point is when the Almighty intervened. So he pulled me away from the brink. Praise God. People think, oh, it's romantic to be a vampire. Well, no, it isn't. And I never was a full-blown vampire because what I was told when I went through this initiation, and that at some point I would just die and become a full-fledged vampire and undead. Nosferatu is the Romanian word. And ironically enough, they just came out with that movie a few months ago called Nosferatu. So the vampire thing's still out there. I mean, and it's real. And now there are nightclubs in big cities where you can go and drink each other's blood. Just like, there are gay bars, there are vampire bars where people will go and, swap blood with one another. And it's regarded as kinky, and it often is a prelude to some sort of perverted sex. And it's becoming huge. And of course, the reason that the Bible tells us, and both in the Torah and in the Old Testament, and also in the book of Acts, Acts chapter 15, don't drink blood because it's sacred. The blood is the life. That's actually quoted in the book Dracula by Bram Stoker. That's from Leviticus. And God says it's sacred because the human soul dwells within the blood. In Hebrew, the word there, it indicates that, it's your nephesh, your soul, that's flowing through your veins and your blood. And so you don't drink blood. Now, that doesn't mean if necessary, you don't need a blood transfusion. That's different. But it's a curse. And I'm so thankful to Yeshua that he pulled me out of all that. And his power is so much greater. And I didn't understand that at the time because I had this image of this wimpy, Jesus that wore a dress and hung around with sheep, and that was it. Even though I was raised as a Catholic, I didn't really have any kind of deep understanding of that stuff.